Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen, wa la udwana illa ala dhalimin. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, sallallahu alayhi, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi, wa man da'a bi da'watihi wa istanna bi sunnati ila yawmiddin. Sallam tasliman kathira. Amma ba'd. فأوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل والسمع والطاعة. يقول الحق سبحانه: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. All praise are due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and surely the best reward ultimately is for those who have taqwa. And surely there is no animosity except for the oppressor. And I bear witness that Allah is one and has no partners, and that Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, is his servant, his last messenger. May Allah always, constantly send peace and blessings to Muhammad, to his family, to his companions, and all those who call to his way and establish his sunnah to the day of judgment. As to what follows, I begin by reminding myself and you to have taqwa, the consciousness of Allah, al-khawf wa raja, that we fear Allah and we hope in the mercy of Allah. And this would surround us with a wiqaya, a shield, a spiritual shield to protect us not only in the masjid, but outside of the masjid. And Allah has revealed in His glorious book, O you who believe, have the consciousness of Allah, fear Allah in the way He should be feared, and do not die except as Muslims. And so the bottom line for us, no matter what is happening in the world politically, economically, socially, the bottom line is for us to strive that our last words leaving this world would be kalima la ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this message that we are blessed with clears out the doubts. It clears out the confusions in this world. Because Allah revealed this not only for the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but revealed it for the world we are living in today. And in the 5th chapter, verse 88, Allah tells us, وَكُلُوا مِمَّا رَزَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي أَنْتُمْ بِهِ مُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah revealed, and eat of what Allah has provided for you. Eat halal things and wholesome. And keep your duty to Allah, the one to whom you believe. And so in this divine verse, Allah connects our rizq. It connects eating halal and wholesome. He connects it to the rizq, that this is our provisions in this world. And he connects this with iman, with our beliefs. He connects it with our very existence as Muslims. And so food and that which surrounds it is a great test. The rizq that we have in this world, those provisions that we have been given are a test. And Allah tells us in Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 35, وَنَبْلُوَكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And we will test you with good and with evil. And all of you will return to us. The Muslim world has these extremes. So Allah is telling us the fitna is shar and khayr. Either way it could be. We have the extremes. We have countries in the Gulf region that has some of the highest standard of living, amount of money that people have at their hands, one of the top of the world. At the same time, we are struck with famines, drought, catastrophes, earthquakes. This is the test. The evil can hit us, and the good can hit us. And the Prophet ﷺ, in speaking about this test, the test of wealth, the risk, because from amongst the risk is what will you eat during the day? The bird, when the bird gets up in the morning, it doesn't check in its bank account. It doesn't watch the television. It goes outside in the world in order to gain its livelihood, its risk, to gain its food. And all creations are similar in this test. The Muslim world, because not only are we in this climate catastrophe, but we also have the last message. And so this fitna, this trial, this test is even more severe upon our shoulders. And the Prophet ﷺ has told us in authentic hadith, Inna li kulli umma fitna, wa fitnatu ummati al-mal. Every nation has a trial and a test. And the trial and test of this nation is wealth. That again is the risk. That is the food. That is the clothing. That is those things that we have around us in our lives. And so for this Islamic History Month, we are looking at food, the blessings that are in it, and the challenges and the struggles that are in it. Because food, it is necessary for our existence in this world. And food, your risk, your sustenance, can be a great source of joy. And we remember that the Prophet ﷺ has told us about the Sa'im, that the Sa'im has farhatan, that there are two joys that the fasting person has. One is when he breaks his fast. So after fasting that day, when the food touches your mouth, when the liquid, it is a joy that comes to you. But on the other hand, the lack of food can be a curse. It can be a terrible pain that the person goes through. Food also is a source of power and is being used by nations politically. It's one of the most powerful weapons in the world today. But food can be a source of blessings. We can gain our blessings through the food or through the wealth that is given to us. And it is said that many of the great companions, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Uthman ibn Affan, and many of the companions were wealthy person. They had wealth, but they balanced their wealth. When it was time to give, they would give. So having the wealth did not make them greedy people, but it opened up their hearts to the test that they were under. And so for the next 4 weekends, we want to look in depth at this challenge that we have with food, and we want to tie it in with some of the challenges faced by our brothers and sisters in the Muslim world. And we are establishing regular food containers outside where you can give even during the week. And we will have special times to continue our struggle, because to study food or just to study eating or to be joyous about our samosa, this is not the essence of Islam. We have to think about, if we have food, what happened to our brothers and sisters who don't have it? And so when we look in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, we see the great challenges surrounding food and surrounding wealth, and how believers used it in order to raise the banner. And it is reported in the 6th year after the Hijrah, the Prophet ﷺ sent 8 letters to the kings of Arabia, not just outside. He sent letters to the leaders in the Arabian Peninsula. And one of those leaders was Thumamah ibn Uthal of Banu Hanifa. And this is in the Najd. This is in the middle area of the Arabian Peninsula. And you would think that because it's in the middle of Arabia, you would think that it is sand dunes and it is hot, like the empty quarter, but the empty quarter is in the southeast side. The middle of Arabia has rivers and water. And in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it was the middle of Arabia that was supporting the rest of the cities with grain and with their food. In the same way that much of the world is being supported in grain by the Ukraine and by Russia. And so it makes a great trial and test on the world when Ukraine and when Russia will not give it to the world. And so the middle region of Arabia was similar to this. And Thumamah was a powerful leader. And he was a strong leader, a strong-willed leader. And when he heard about the message of the Prophet ﷺ, he hated this, wal-iyadhu billah. And he planned to kill any Muslim that he found. And some of the Muslims going through the Banu Hanifa region, he caught some of them, they killed them. And one day he decided that he would make a journey to Mecca. Not in the way that Muslims do, but he would go to Mecca to sacrifice to the idols. And as he was moving on the road to Mecca, and he was known by the Muslims, they put out a reward on Thumamah because what he had done. And so when the believers came across Thumamah, by the will of Allah, they ran into his caravan. They defeated the caravan and they captured him. And they brought him back to Medina. And when they brought him back to the Medina, they tied him. They knew he was a powerful person. They tied him on a post inside of the Prophet's mosque. When the Prophet ﷺ came and saw this man, he was surprised. This is Thumamah. Let him stay on the pole. So they made him tied up on the pole to stay all day. He had to watch Salat al-Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. He had to watch the feeding of the poor. He had to watch Ahl al-Suffah, the people who were studying and people who were remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had to watch all of the things going on inside of this building. And after this time, the Prophet ﷺ came to him and said, I know who you are. And so Thumamah, who was an arrogant man, he said to the Prophet ﷺ, if you want to free me, I will be grateful. And he said, if you want compensation, I will give you anything you want. But if you want to take my life, you have a noble man, you have noble blood. So make your decision. The Prophet ﷺ smiled and left him. Second day, he stayed on the pole watching the Muslims, seeing the ukhuwah, the brotherhood inside of the masjid. Prophet ﷺ came to him again and he said the same thing. If you want to kill me, I am noble. If you want to forgive me, I will be grateful for this. And if you want money, you want compensation, I'll give you anything you want. The Prophet ﷺ smiled and left him. Third day, Thumamah is tied to the pole. The same scenario happened. At the end of this, the Prophet ﷺ, with his hikmah, with divine wisdom, he looked at this man who had watched the believers and he said, my decision is you are free. I let you go. Thumamah was shocked. And he went outside, got on his camel, and he started to ride out. And by the time he reached Al-Baqi', he reached by the cemetery, something came over him. And he returned to the masjid and he went to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa annaka Rasulullah. He announced his Islam. This is the divine wisdom of the Prophet ﷺ. But then Thumamah said, I feel guilty because I killed people. And the Prophet ﷺ told him, Al-Islam yajubbu ma qabla, that Islam wipes away those sins that happened before. And Thumamah told him, I wanted to go to Mecca, and he was advised, continue on to Mecca. But this time you don't go to the idols, you will go to the Kaaba for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will make an ihram, and you will go. So Thumamah then said, I pledge my life, my sword, and my people to you, Ya Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he went to Mecca. Now imagine this scene. He comes into Mecca by himself. He's a very well-known person. He's one of the leaders of the Arabian Peninsula. He comes into Mecca by himself, and the Quraysh are looking, and then he begins to shout at the top of his voice, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. The Quraysh were in shock, because this is after Badr, Uhud, Khandaq. They were in shock, and they said, take this man, kill him. But the leaders of Quraysh, they said, you cannot touch him, because this is Thumamah. He controls food. Remember the food, like a Ukrainian leader or a Russian leader. You cannot touch Thumamah. And so he made his umrah. And this is the first Muslim, the first to be making umrah. No Fathu Mecca. This is the first to make it. Thumamah, Allah helped him to change from the enemy of Islam into a person who was breaking ground for the Muslims. And so Thumamah left Mecca and headed to the Najd. And he said, I still feel guilty. This is not enough. So I will announce muqata'ah, boycott. We will boycott all of the wealth and the grain going from the middle of Arabia into Mecca. And this boycott was so effective that the Quraysh, because it was a year of a drought, they were starving to death. So they sent to the Prophet ﷺ and they begged him, tell him to stop this boycott. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard the possibility, innocent people, he wrote to Thumamah, lift the boycott. The Muslims were proud of Thumamah. But, and this is a great lesson of Islam, we do not kill innocent people. We do not use weapons of mass destruction or food in order to take innocent lives. And so the boycott was lifted, and Thumamah had done an amazing action. And he lived to continue on, and it was in the time of Musaylimah al-Kadhdhab, the liar prophet, who also came from the middle of Arabia. Instead of joining Musaylimah, Thumamah fought against him and struggled against him. And Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu anh finished the job of Musaylimah. But our story, our shahid here is Thumamah and the use of food, the use of wealth, that food, that power that you have from the food can be a source of blessings, or it could be a source of a terrible curse on the people who are not getting the food. And so we need to understand this. And we hope to be studying this with you, and we will bring in the relief agencies to the IIT and give this community an opportunity to give in the path of Allah and to not forget our brothers and sisters who are suffering. Remember that the Prophet ﷺ has told us in authentic hadith, Inna li kulli umma fitna, wa fitna to ummati al-mal. Every nation has a trial and test, and the trial and test of my nation is wealth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to spend in the path of Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take bukhul, take this out of our hearts, this greed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give blessings and protect the children of the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah protect the dignity and the honor of the Ummah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. May Allah raise up leaders in the Muslim world, balanced leadership to take our people from darkness into light. And may Allah give us the ability that our last word would be kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa li sa'ili muslimin min kulli dhanbin istaghfiru innahu huwal ghafurur rahim.